Okay. All right, so everybody should be looking at my screen now. All right. Okay, great. So let's get started. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the politics of profit in print, everything to do with political printing. And we wanted to cover this because it is election season. There's a ton of primaries coming up, and which I'll show you a calendar of shortly. And we know that there's a big opportunity for everyone to take advantage of, the opportunity that's out there. So first, let's take a look at how much opportunity there actually is in the political landscape. You guys, are probably familiar with what you're looking at the screen, yard signs. Yard signs are everywhere for politics, but there's so many races, there's so many campaigns that are done for different offices that, are not only in the primary that these are used, and a lot of other types of printing are used. So first, let's take a look at the calendar of politics. So as you can see here, this is taken from 270towin.com. So if you do want to check it out, you can even check out your local areas, your local government, which I'll talk about on the next slide. But these are all the upcoming primaries for the rest of the year. And, I think election season, generally when people talk about elections, they speak about like, either the primaries or the presidential campaigns. And that's really, every 4 years, right? But this is, this year, a bunch of primaries are happening. You can see them all within this calendar here. And you can see all the different states that they're taking place this year. And this season is all year round. It looks like all year round primaries are going to be happening. But what I want to point out also is that don't focus in on just the primaries. There's so much more opportunities within your local state. And not only that, but also the local community or counties. So as you can see here, I took an example of California and Los Angeles. So in California, we have a bunch of different, again, primary elections. And then within Los Angeles County, of those primaries, there are tons and tons of different elections for, municipalities. There's school district elections. There's, city hall, water district. There's just so many different types of elections that happen at the local level. And these are all opportunities. These are all opportunities for you guys to, kind of reach out to your local governments. If you don't want to do at the state level or even at the federal level, there's so many opportunities of smaller elections that you guys can go after. And these are much smaller and easier, to kind of handle, because sometimes like with these federal or state level elections, they're much larger. They require a lot more dedication, a lot more time. And if you kind of don't want to do that, these smaller ones are good. Parks and Rec, judges, there's also city hall elections, all types of different elections where it'll take smaller bites out of your time that you can focus on. And maybe they might just need yard signs. They might just need, direct mail or EDDM, which are three of the most popular things that political candidates do for their elections. Even if they're not really fighting anyone, or even if they're not going against anyone in the political race, they still have to tell their constituents, they still have to let their constituents know, their area know, that they're the new person in charge. So it's again, not really, when you think about politics, don't think of it sometimes as a battle. It's just really informative, informing the community that they are there, informing the community of what their policies are going to be, what they stand for, what they want to do for the community. And even that requires a lot of communication and a lot of printing behind it. So again, lots of opportunities there. Visit your, local state level website, government website, because these right here I just found from, california.gov and lavote.gov. Every state and county has their own website where you can see all the elections, because this is all public information. So make sure to, or you can make sure to visit your city hall, see what elections are coming up, see who's running. You can get all that information. They're all public. It's all public information that you guys can acquire. All right. So once you do decide to go after, doing some political printing, what ideas are you going to present to that candidate to voter turnout? Well, I think, the most important thing right now is print has had a really big resurgence, especially because of COVID, especially because of the new normal that we have now. Print has become, once again, a really essential part of any marketing plan. People have noticed that social media tends to, not work. It tends to work for outreach and kind of introducing somebody, but when somebody really wants to get a deep dive about a candidate, they look to print. Right here, you can see this statistic that I've taken from the Pew Research Center. 67% of US adults said they followed elections news closely, and the key word is closely, through print. And it's right after cable TV. So that's how important print has become in the political environment. Right after cable TV, print is the next resource that people choose to pay attention to when they're, when they want to follow a political candidate. And it's important because those are the people who promote those candidates more than any other. And I'll talk about that in the next slide, but that's what you should communicate to your customers or your political candidate that you're working with. That's where they need to dedicate a lot of resources to. Political campaigns have tons of resources that they dedicate to communication, to marketing, especially dedicated within TV. But right after TV, on their radar should be print. Number 2 should be print. All right. Another thing to communicate to customers, to your customers or political candidates, is print is effective. And 77% of recipients of print said that they could recall information better from a mailer or from some sort of print that they received versus 47% from a digital ad. And again, that's very important for political candidates who want to communicate their policies, communicate what they stand for, communicate what they're going to do for their community. Retaining that information for a voter, a voter to retain that information is essential part of a political campaign's success, right? Again, communicating through social media and through online methods, digital ads, is a big part of any campaign, is a big part of marketing in general, and it should still be done. But where you're really going to get the impact for a voter to pay attention to you is through print. That's where they're going to have a physical piece that they're going to read, that they're going to have, within their house, that they're maybe even share with other people. That's where you can see all the policies, what they stand for, what they're going to do for the community, and everything. It's another good resource to add information for polling places, for navigation, political agenda, like I mentioned. That's a really great way to communicate because, as you guys may or may not know, historically, politics is difficult to get voter turnout, not only because, people are just uninterested sometimes in politics, but they don't know where the polling place is. They don't know what times they open. They don't know the dates of when they have to mail in their votes or go to the polling place. So it's a good idea to get this information into the hands of voters, so that way they actually have the tools to be able to go out there. They have the information to go out there and vote and stand in line and wait their turn and, place their vote. These are all things that should be within any communications that are sent out to voters. So I want to communicate this to you so that way you guys know what should be in communications for these political candidates that you're doing print for. Again, polling place details and schedule, a really good idea to do because it gets the vote out easily. People don't have to think about it. They have it in their hands. They put it on their fridge. And then that way, when the date comes, it's kind of like a save the date for polling or for voting. They can put it on their fridge. And then once the time comes, they'll be able to go and vote accordingly. Navigation is also important. Not only putting the address of the local polling places to each of the areas, through either direct mail or through flyers or door hangers, but also at a polling location, right? That's through the government. If you communicate with the city hall that you're able to outfit the polling places with navigational signage, polling place signage, that's another opportunity. That's another big opportunity. Park here, stand in line here, that sort of thing. Again, going back to details of the political agenda, very, very important for political candidates to communicate that in a print way. Going back to this statistic here, 67% of adults said that they followed election news closely through print, and 77% said that they could recall information better through print, through a mailer. So just make sure to communicate that to your customers and to your political candidates that you're doing the printing for, making print an essential part. So that way the voters retain that information a lot better. Some other things to think about when using print are, inspirational messaging. A lot of political candidates use that, to kind of communicate their message. Third-party support, fire department, police department, educators, whoever is supporting them in their campaign, it's a good idea to put that third-party support, to communicate that third-party support to voters and constituents. QR code. QR code has had a big resurgence because of COVID, because of the pandemic, and now everyone's kind of used to using QR codes. So it's a good idea to use QR codes in political campaigns to communicate directly through a video or through some sort of website or ad or, something more interactive where, it makes the voter feel that additional step of communication, that additional step of caring. Just imagine somebody getting a postcard through the mail with a QR code that links to a video where now the candidate is speaking directly to them. So make sure to use QR codes as well. And then finally, repeat reminders. I think communication is all about repetition as well. Maybe one direct mail piece, that's good, but 3 direct mail pieces, that's when you're really going to stick in somebody's head, right? So that repetition, that repeated reminder of, hey, I'm a candidate, this is what I stand for, let your people know, that sort of thing. All right, so some of the most popular print products for elections, I think some of you obviously will know this from just walking around your neighborhood. Yard signs is probably the biggest one. People put these out all the time when some sort of election season is coming up and they want to show who they support. Direct mail is another big one. A really great way to target specific candidates, or specific areas of constituencies or specific people, that they want to reach out to. EDDM is one of the best ways to communicate in a repeated method, great for repeated reminders. Not only are you saturating an area, but you getting the low cost of postage and the low cost of the postcards as well. So that way you can hit a bigger area and even send out repeated reminders. So it makes it a really cost-effective way to communicate with constituencies, with zip codes, with different areas where the election is taking place. So definitely factor in EDDM as one of those essential parts of any political campaign. Banners, great for little events that they have outside. Door hangers, good for canvassing. if their political candidate is thinking about canvassing, door hangers is a really, really great way to remind people that they're running. And then all the other ones, I think the other ones are sort of self-explanatory. Foam core, event tents for special events that they have, buttons, that's kind of buttons and stickers, or I voted sticker, I voted for this person, I voted for that person. It kind of shows off on their person who they voted for and everything. Flags and tablecloths, again, also for polling places, or not polling places, sorry, but special events that they have, rallies that they were going to have, event tents, tablecloths, flags, banners, all of that stuff will work for those sort of rallies. All right, so next let's talk about what kind of packages you can put together for your customers. And again, I think there's a lot here that you can take advantage of. I think there's a ton of opportunity. All of these things candidates are looking for. Anybody who is running for office is going to want to do at least a couple of these things. And I think that's how you have to present it to your customer, where you can either pick a couple of these and say, hey, I can do all of your EDDM or direct mail work and start with that. And then if they have a rally, they're going to think about you first and say, oh yeah, that guy did my direct mail, or he did, the saturation mailing that I asked him to do. I wonder if he can do events. And then they'll come to you next for the event printing, or vice versa. Maybe they're doing an event and you can outfit their event with their rally with a bunch of different signage and event tents and flags and yard signs. And then they'll think about you next for reaching out to saturation mailing, or maybe even their branding and stationery. Taking this piece by piece is the way to go about introducing yourself to campaigns, or at the state level or federal level. Getting just creating a niche for yourself where you're doing just one or two things for a political candidate, and then that way they'll start to think about you for future marketing campaigns that they're doing. And one thing that political campaigns usually do is it's an extended period of outreach to customers, or not to customers, but to their voters, right? It's a really long and extended period where they're just constantly communicating. So taking all of this and seeing the opportunity of taking, piece by piece, maybe a yard signs for now, and then doing event tents for a rally, and then maybe doing the tablecloth for that same rally, and then towards the end of the campaign, doing more direct mail and EDDM, right? And you can even decide to put together a calendar for that candidate, where in the beginning, you are starting off with maybe some direct mail, just to let people know, hey, now I'm running. And then closer to voting day, you start to do rallies, you start to outfit their events, and then again, saturation mailing, hit them with saturation mailing again. That might be a good way to go about it. And then as you look at, the possible markups that you see here, that again, these are national markups that we, kind of gathered up. Your markups are probably going to be higher, especially if you have a storefront, and if you're at the local level, these markups are probably low to you. And obviously, I'd love to hear what some people mark up. You put it in the question box. I'd love to hear about some of the markups that you guys put on some of these, or if you guys have had experience with political candidates, I'll share a story with everybody about how that went. All right, and then the last thing I do want to cover is that we have a free downloadable white label political catalog available from go.forward.com. If you head to go.forward.com, you're going to be able to download a whole catalog of a free pre-made white label ads. And here, let me go ahead and turn on my camera. All right, so here's the catalog. So this is the catalog that we printed for, that you guys will have, except this one has 4 over The version that you guys are going to get is the white label version of it, but all of it is in here. So it has some general information about, you know, political elections and everything, and then has some really great images of different political products that you can present to, you know, either a city, state, political level, you know, any political candidate. And then that way you can, you know, kind of offer it as your own products and services to them. All right. And again, the white label version of this is available to you guys on that go.forward.com website. I'll put it on screen right now again. All right, there we go. All right, so make sure to head to go.forward.com. That way you can download it. And again, like I mentioned, there's just a ton of resources there that you guys can, you know, kind of get. Not only is there going to be white label marketing materials, but there's also going to be white papers, there's going to be webinars, there's going to be a ton of different things. And it's a really great resource. So make sure that you download that, and you can change it however you want. It's going to be a high resolution PDF, and you can, you know, put your logo on it. You can, you know, add pricing on it. You can do whatever you want to that political catalog that you like. It's up to you. So definitely take a look at it, and hopefully that'll help you guys out, communicate to your customers that it's available. All right. So thank you so much. Let me go ahead.